Hi, how are you? This is the PowerPoint presentation for Chapter 9. Also, some things with Chapter 7 and 8. I recommend that you watch this PowerPoint, and then this PowerPoint um, will help you answer the questions for this review, for chapter review. So the chapter review is called Chapter Review Assignment 7, 8, and mostly 9, because it's mostly Chapter 9. So if you watch this, it'll be a lot easier than if you tried to find these answers through the book. Okay, so I'm gonna take off the video just because it's blocks the slideshow. All right, so here we go. Move that out of the way. And cannot minimize. Oh, sorry. Let's just move that out of the way then. Okay, oops, sorry. Uh, share. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. Let's start the slideshow. All right, so here's the agenda. So remember, Chapter 9 is page 104. You should read the whole thing. I recommend you read the whole thing first, and then you watch this. You don't have to read Chapter 7 and 8. You don't have to. And then, because I'll tell you what you need to know for those chapters. So we'll talk about highlights from Chapter 7 and 8. I will go over the meta right outline with you again. I know I've done this before, but we'll go over it again, just in terms of where it goes in the steps of writing, the drafting part, the planning part, right? The planning part, not the drafting part. The difference between revising and editing, peer review, unity, detail, coherence. Okay, so those are the things we're going to talk about. Okay, so the first thing from Chapter 7 is, what is order? In regards to writing, an order is the sequence in which you present your ideas. There are three different types of order. There's time order, space order, and order of importance. Okay, so for time order, we use order, which also means chronological order. That means what came first, what came second, what came third, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay? To arrange points according to when they happened. Time order works best when you were writing about events. So our first essay is the narration essay. So you will most likely use time order in your narration essay. But you don't have to go chronological. You don't have to go first, second, third. You can do first to last, or you could even go backward, last to first. You can also do most recent to least recent, or least recent to most recent. Oh, sorry, that's missing the T. It should have a T there. Recent. Okay, the next slide. So here's an example of time order. This is a narration paragraph. Because I'm not a morning person, I have to follow the same routine every morning, or I'll just go back to bed. So if I stop you here, and we already talked about good topic sentence, says, let's take a look. This is a good topic sentence because it gives us some background, it gives us a point, a topic, and also why this is important, right? I have to do this or I'll just go back to bed, okay? If I don't do this, there's a consequence, okay? So that's a nice way to do a narration paragraph and essay, is that it's a topic and something important about the topic. Okay, I've highlighted the transition words, which we'll talk about later, but they do signal first, second, third, first, then, next, after. Okay, so those are good transition words. They also show the time order. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read the whole thing. Because I'm not a morning person, I have to follow the same routine every morning, or I'll just go back to bed. First, I allow myself 3 snooze cycles on the alarm. That gives me an extra 15 minutes to sleep. Then I count to 3 and haul myself out of bed. I have to do this quickly or I may just sink back onto the welcoming mattress. Next, I head to the shower. I run the water for a minute so it will be warm when I step in. While waiting for it to warm up, I wash my face with cold water. It's a shock, but it jolts me awake. After showering and dressing, I'm ready for the 2 cups of coffee that are necessary for me to get moving out of the house. Okay? So again, we see first, then, next, after, time order. The next order is called space order. You might also hear spatial order. They're the same. So use space order to describe objects, places, or people. When you write your description essay, you're probably going to use spatial order because you're describing like an object, for example, or a place or a person. So you use this to arrange ideas so that your readers picture the topic the way you see it. Okay? Space order usually works best when you're writing about a physical object or a physical place or a person's physical appearance. You can move from top to bottom, start from the top of their head to the tip of their toes, bottom to top, toes to head, near to far, far to near. So if you're doing a city, right, start from the city center and move further out, or the other way, start from the outside of the city and move in. Left to right if you're describing a picture or painting, or right to left. Typically, since Americans and English reads left to right, Americans and anyone who reads English goes usually left to right. It's kind of hard for us to do right to left, but it's up to you, whatever works. But it's just typically it's like left to right. It's easier for people who know English to go that way because that's the way they usually read. But that's okay. You can go right to left as well. Back to front or front to back. So from the back of whatever it is to the front of whatever it is. So that you will hear this again when we talk about description essays. So here's an example of space order. So just take a look. Can you tell what type of order it is? Is it one of these? Which one of these is it? Okay. So is it, let's do that again. Top to bottom, bottom to top, near to far, far to near, left to right, right to left, back to front, or front to back. Let's see. Donna looked professional for her interview. Okay, so we're doing a physical description. Her long, dark, curly hair was held back with a gold clip. No stray wisps escaped. Normally wild and unruly, her hair was smooth, shiny, and neat. She wore a white silk blouse with just the top button open at her throat. Donna had made sure to leave time to iron so it wouldn't be wrinkled. The blouse was neatly tucked into her A-line skirt, which came up just to the top of her knee. She wore black stockings that she had checked for runs and black low-heeled shoes. Sorry. Altogether, her appearance marked her as serious and professional, and she was sure to make a good. My goodness, sorry about that. Sorry. Try more careful not to click anymore. Although her appearance marked her as serious and professional, and she was sure to make a good impression. Okay, that sounds kind of funny. You don't need this word, although. Altogether. Oh, sorry, that's why I read it wrong. Altogether, her appearance marked her as serious and professional, and she was sure to make a good first impression. So here we see, did you see that it's top to bottom, from her hair all the way down to her shoes, right? Top to bottom. Okay, so here's order of importance. This we kind of usually it's an argumentative essays. You save your best point for last. Okay, so use order of importance to emphasize a particular point. Use order of importance to arrange points according to their importance, interest, or surprise value. Again, usually save the most important for last. So here's an example. Okay, so you can see that this is an example. Well, what do you think this is an example of? What sorry, is it importance, interest, or surprise value? And did they save the most important for last? Let's see. People who keep guns in their houses risk endangering both themselves and others. Many accidental injuries occur when a weapon is improperly stored or handled. For example, someone cleaning a closet where a loaded gun is stored may handle the gun in a way that causes it to go off and injure him or her. Guns also feature in many reports of crimes of passion. Couple with a violent history has a fight, and in a fit of rage, one gets the gun and shoots the other, wounding or killing the other person. Most common and the most tragic incidences are which in children find loaded guns, play with them, accidentally killing themselves or their playmates. Considering these factors, the risk of keeping guns in the home outweigh the advantages for many people. Okay, so we see here that it's the last thing you see, the most common and most tragic. So here we see that this is the most important thing they're talking about, the most, because they even use those signal words that tell us that they're saving the best for last. Okay, this is from your book. I didn't write that, just so you know. Okay, so we're going to move on. That's all I wanted from chapter 7. Now we're talking about drafting. So this is the stage in writing after you've done the planning, which is after the meta write, right? Oh yes, and I forgot. Let's take a look real quick at the meta write. So this is the planning part of your essay. This is a typical 5-paragraph essay, and this is the outline that you can use. This is all for the introduction paragraph. We will go into more about what an introduction does and what a conclusion does in different videos. I like to keep them short for those so you can watch them over and over again. But this is just a general presentation of the structure of the meta write. So your introduction should have a hook, background, and of course the thesis or topic sentence. Then you have body paragraph 1 with the topic, the event, and the details and the transition. Then you have body paragraph, this is for narration, by the way. You have body paragraph 2 for topic, event, details, transition. Same thing. And then finally, you have your conclusion. Final thought about what was significant about this topic. Okay, so this is actually goes with chapter 7 because that's all the planning, right? The planning of it. So now you know that what order are you going to put this in? Are you going to put it in chronological order? Are you going to put it in spatial order? Are you going to put it in order of importance? Right? Okay, so that's where chapter 7 goes with the meta write. Okay. Do require you to write them. For each essay that I assign, you will get a new meta write that you need to fill out. Okay. And we'll talk about it more when the essays are assigned. So now we're moving into chapter 8, which is drafting. So drafting is after you've filled out your meta write and then you start writing. A draft is the first whole version. The one thing that happens in this class, and not all, actually, it's usually not, it's certain classes. Usually it's 122. Some students are very stressed out or they don't have time or whatever, and students turn in a draft that's not the correct number of words. It's not written nicely. They didn't even try to make it complete. Please don't do that. A draft is the first whole version of all your ideas put together, okay? So do your best you can in drafting because later you will be able to revise and edit, but the best job that you have, then it will make a better end product. And of course you can make changes later. Okay. Oh yeah, so I just said, use the meta write to structure your draft. After you write your draft, use the rubric to see if you're missing any important elements. I have the video on the rubric, and you can watch that again. And then you will complete a review in class. So the rubric is great because it's like, you know what I'm looking for. Okay, so you go through the rubric and you ask yourself, do I have these components of what Professor Rogers wants? Okay. The peer review is for people. So you bring your copy of your draft to school, or if we're doing this online, it'll be a little bit different, but it's okay if only in the online class. But just so you know what a peer review is, it works a little differently online. I will tell you about it later, but in person, it is 4 people. Each person has a copy of the student's draft. 10 minutes, student 1 reads his or her paper out loud as the others take notes. Then for 15 minutes, everyone is quiet and people fill out a peer review sheet. Okay, 15 minutes. That's how long it should take. It should take a long time and people should try very hard to answer the questions completely. Then student 1 asks each student to give their answer. So they go through each question and each student gives their answers and they have a discussion. So then they answer all of the questions for student one, and then they're done with student one and they give all their review sheets to student one. Then the other students do the whole thing. Okay? So 10 plus 15 plus 15, right? Times 4. Okay, so, oh, I didn't do an example handout. We'll do it later. It's just a bunch of questions. I didn't want to do it because it'll depend on each essay. Okay, so peer reviews will be tailor-made for each type of essay. I decided against giving you a handout example because they basically will be, of course, basic essay structure, but also if you're doing a narration essay, it will ask specific questions about narration essay elements and things like that. If we're doing description, it'll be different for description. Okay, so now we're on chapter 9. Chapter 9 is revising. I'm sorry, chapter 9, one of the main points is about revising. So what is it? Revising is taking another look at your ideas to make them clearer, stronger, and more convincing. When revising, you are evaluated how well you've made your point, how clear you've done your point, if your point is coherent, is your essay unified, does it follow structure? You're doing everything. Editing is a bit different. In the peer review, your partners are not supposed to edit. So your friends in your peer review really aren't supposed to edit. But if they notice that there's a lot of problems with something, they might say, hey, looks like you have a problem with commas. You probably want to ask the teacher about that or something like that. But do not edit your friend's paper. It's content that you're doing with peer review. So that's the difference between revising and editing. Editing is finding and correcting certain problems, writing problems, grammar style, word choice, usage, and punctuation. Okay. You can also evaluate the words and phrases you have used. Is there anything better than these ones? Okay, so here's some tips from revising your paper. They're the best tips ever. Wait a few hours. So write it and give yourself a break, at least a couple of hours, even a couple of days. I know we don't always have that time, but maybe one day, okay? Read your draft aloud and listen to what you were saying, so you don't have to wait till the peer review. You can do that before the peer review. Read critically and ask yourself questions as if you were reading through someone else's eyes. Make notes about the changes, okay? And for small things like adding a transition, you can make the change on the draft. For other things like adding or getting rid of an idea or reordering your ideas, make notes in the margins. And please, always, I really encourage that you get help from the tutor at the Writing Center at DVC, okay? Also, there's online net tutor, so you have the ability to get writing tutoring for free, and please take advantage of that. Okay, so when you're revising, you need to check for unity, detail, and coherence, whatever. Coherence. What's unity mean? Unity means that all the points you make are related to their main point. They are unified in support of your main point. As you draft a paragraph or an essay, you may detour from your point without even knowing about it. But in other words, just don't go off point. You have to be focused on it. It has to be unified. I'll give you some examples of going off point. Or one example, I think. Sorry, it froze. Okay, so here is an example with unity, and where does this go off topic? Now, this one thing is, it's great to get talking and thinking about your subject, and in a conversation, we go off topic all the time. But in writing, we don't want to do that. In writing, we want to be more unified. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you, and while I'm reading, it's not the whole thing, by the way, but can you find where this is not something in here goes off point? It's not unified. Can you do that? All right, you may want to pause this video now, read it yourself, and try to find it before going on to the next slide, before you continue. Okay, if you want to drive like a drunk person, use a cell phone while driving. A group of researchers from the University of Utah tested the reaction of two groups of people, those who were intoxicated compared to those who were not, in a variety of driving tasks. All tasks were done with hands-free cell phones. That part of the study surprised me because I thought the main problem was only using one hand to drive. I hardly ever drive with two hands, even when I'm not talking to anybody. Among other results, braking time for both groups slowed by 18%. A related result that is the number of rear end a related result is that the number of rear end collisions doubled. I think can you tell what's off topic? Pause it and read it if you can't. That part of the study surprised me. Like it's interesting, and if you were talking to your friend and saying, "Oh my gosh, I want to tell you how I feel about this," that's off topic. It's not unified. It's doesn't add anything to your main point, so you should cut it out, for example. So if you see that this is in your paper where you go off on a different point, that's not good. It has to be unified, so just take it out. Another thing you need to revise for is coherence. Coherence in writing means that all your support connects to form a whole. In other words, even when the points and details are assembled in an order that makes sense, they still need glue. Okay. They need to get them together. So what is our glue? Transitions. Okay. So coherence in writing helps readers to see how one point leads to another, and a good way to improve coherence is using transitions. So transitions are words, phrases, and sentences that connect your ideas so that your writing moves smoothly from one point to the next. You should use transitions when moving from one main point to support another. You also use them whenever you want to improve the flow of your writing. There's a list of transitions. And I do a separate video on all of these and explaining what they mean. It's just got a little long to do that here. So there'll be another video on the transitions, what they mean, and also these important transitions called conjunctive adverbs. So please check out that video after this. Okay, so let's take a look though at a paragraph without transitions. And then we're going to compare it to the one with transitions, okay? And you can just notice how much better and how much more coherent the one with transitions is, okay? So please read along, or if you don't want to listen to me, just push pause, read it yourself, and compare it to the next slide. Okay, it is not difficult to get organized. It takes discipline to stay organized. All you need to do is follow a few simple ideas. You must decide what your priorities are and to do these tasks first. You should ask yourself every day, what is the most important task I have to accomplish? Make the time to do it. To be organized, you need a personal system for keeping track of things. Making lists, keeping records, and using a schedule help you remember what tasks you need to do. It is a good idea not to let belongings and obligations stack up. Get rid of possessions you don't need. Put away items every time you use them, and do not take on more responsibilities than you can handle. Getting organized is not a mystery. It is just good sense. It's okay. Right. If we just add these 3 different transitions, they make the paragraph so much more coherent. We'll just read the sentences with the transitions. It is not difficult to get organized, even though it takes discipline to stay organized. Oh, yeah. For example, okay, you must do this. For example, what is the most important task to accomplish? Then make time to do it. Finally, so it really helps with these transitions, makes it much easier for the reader to follow, and it signals in our brains that, oh, okay, this is the next thing, this is the next thing, kind of breaks it up so you can understand it better. That's it. So your chapter review is really based on this, what I just did, the presentation. You need to define the following terms. You need to answer these questions. Why is revision important? You can just put it in your own words. You don't have to look it up in the book, just based on what you know. This is just a yes or no question. How long does a peer review take? Remember, it's with 4 people. And I mean in person. It's okay if you're in an online class, you can still answer that question. And why is the last one's not in order? Sorry, but why is the meta right useful? Why do you think I require it for each essay? How can it help you write well-structured essays? That's it. Okay. So that's the assignment for this video. Thank you so much. And don't forget to view the transitions video as well and all the other work. Okay. Thank you.